Hello everybody. I'm afraid I'm speaking in English, but it's all about the visuals, so let's hope that they make as much sense as my words. The whole point about the future of fashion is it's not any one person, it's everybody. It's a conversation and it's teamwork. And if we're not all working together, there is no future for fashion. So I'm looking at moving into 2025, and it's like a circus, it's like a carousel. We run round, we're moving faster and faster, and that doesn't help the future of fashion. We need to slow down. So, first of all, who am I? What do I do? Well, I'm a writer and a freelance journalist, and these are some of the publications I work with. So I get to Paris, I get to sit at shows, I get to do glamorous things, and it's really lovely, and I love what I do. So I work with luxury magazines, I work online, I work with all sorts of different magazines across the world, and I've been doing it for a very long time. So these are some of the people I work with. Why am I so busy? Because I'm fast, and today fashion demands that we're fast. If something happens in Milan at 11 o'clock, the whole world wants it by 11:05. It's no good waiting till 12:30, it's too late, everyone's already put it out there. So have a look at what everybody is doing, the speed of social media, and we need to get the information out there, but it has to be the right information. So things like Cannes Film Festival, Dior have a whole special section where they make over people, they dress with people, they work with people. We need to be following all those people all day and telling people who are coming in and coming out. It's no good waiting until, in the old days, 4 months later, the publication came out with lovely glossy pictures. So, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about where are we now. So the first thing about where we are now is the world we're in. Clothes are made in the world in which we live. And we wear clothes in a real world. We don't wear them on a runway or in an artificial world. So this is the world right now. So fashion needs to change because the world right now is not a very comfortable place in most of the world. There are two ways of looking at the world now: pretending there's been nothing changing and acting as though it's exactly the same as it's always been, or we can change and we can see where the real world is around us. So, trends. Who needs trends? We've always looked to the future. We've always planned months ahead. We've always said we need fashion trends. Do we? Do we really need a crystal ball to say that black is going to be big in fashion terms? Do we really need a crystal ball to tell us that swimwear is going to be big in August? You know, it's crazy. We have trends from everybody, trends being given to us, all these ridiculous titles. This season's top trends, what's hot, the hot item. Women are not stupid, and neither are men, but women particularly, so much of this was aimed at. They're not buying it, they're not using it. They're saying, I don't care how much you tell me orange is the hot colour, it doesn't suit me, so I'm not going to buy it. So what to wear, trends, trends, trends. And we always get it wrong. The moment we say tailoring is dead, the sales at Brook Brothers in America went through the roof. So the trend forecasting business is obsolete in many ways. And this film is 18 years old. Everybody said it will date because it's about fashion, but we still love it, we still quote it. So there are trends, but these are the trends: accountability, sustainability, ethical sourcing, real trends that change people's lives and change fashion. But we also look at the past a lot, and fashion likes to go back to the whole golden days, whichever decade they decide they are. And what's fabulous is designers copying old clothes exactly for the red carpet because nobody can do it better. Surely it's a balance between the future and the past. So we look at craft and heritage. This is English Vogue, which to me looks like they haven't heard that anything has changed for 40 years. Boring, dull, whatever. These are Harper's Bazaar covers, and this particularly, where French Harper's Bazaar took a back view of Catherine Deneuve as their cover, shows thoughtfulness, but also approaching their local market, France. So again, from various publications, and this, which went viral from Vogue Philippines, who have now gone viral again with their latest cover. Fashion has to change. So, Vogue Arabia is looking at its local market. It's not looking outside. So, craft and heritage, thoughtfulness and kindness. Who is your audience? And local versus global. Anybody want their makeup done by a machine? I don't think so. Anybody want, put your face in a machine and you have your lipstick and makeup applied? It's never going to work. Want your fringe cut by technology? I don't think so. The return of the old-fashioned barber. Forget unisex hairdressers. Men want to go to somewhere with men understanding barbering. And darning, mending, patchwork, looking after the clothes we bought and not throwing them away. And traditional textiles. And knitting, I love this, what was it? 23 million plus posts about hand knitting. And rules that are broken in other countries. In India, most of the embroiderers are men, not women, and they keep the business going. So again, two men doing amazing crafts, and the French restoring craft and holding on to it. This is in Palma, where I live. This hotel was restored basically by men with hammers and chisels. They completely restored it, hardly any machinery. And this is good old Notre Dame, where they're still doing most of the work by hand. We all know about this. We all know about technology. We all know about where it moves us to. We also know that a friend's son who said to me, you should be investing in Bitcoin, didn't look quite so happy the day he lost £3,000 overnight as a teenager because he'd invested in Bitcoin. And this is a scene familiar to us all. Why are they spending the money to go to a restaurant when they could just as well sit at home and whatever? Instagram is continuing work on digital collectibles, and AI has thousands of results, but 90% of people in fashion don't actually know how it works. Who you follow matters. That's my Instagram, because what you do and how you work your life is very important now. And you can't follow all these. You'd have to be in bed permanently just with your phone in your hand. You couldn't go anywhere. Who you follow matters. Right. What is interesting is that social media has given us a chance to have a dialogue with the client. This is why Olivier Rostaing at Balmain has over 10k followers, because they talk to him and he talks to them. And this is how the royal family recently responded and updated to the Princess of Wales' cancer by making a short, very beautiful film. Luxury. What is luxury? I think it's these things. I think luxury has changed for us. Water, for many, many people across the whole world, is absolutely a luxury, and we still don't recognize it. The next world war will be over water, is one of the most Googled search statements there is. And this, heating up the globe, and this, sandstorms, turbulence on nearly every flight is getting worse. And we have no silence, we have no escape, we have no time. We are running against the clock every time we get out of bed. So time has become a luxury. And many of the animals on the planet have become a luxury. The goodness that bees do has been underestimated for centuries. Now suddenly we're wondering. Okay, slow down. Right. Luxury also kicks trends. During the first 6 months of global lockdown, Hermès went up 0.8% when everybody else was suffering. And these brands have no problems. So it's important to look at what luxury can be, but it doesn't have to be a trench coat, a camel coat, or something really dull. It can also be the very special and the not identifiable. So designers like Rihanna and Nina and Lasha Devdariani, who comes from Tbilisi, make clothes that have no season, no time, but no label. That looks amazing. Who's it from? And Sibila. Sibila came down to Palma, Mallorca the other month. She had a pop-up shop for 3 weeks. She had to restock at the end of the first week. Food. Think about what we put in our mouths as well as what we put on. Food is really, really important. And in many civilized countries, we treat it appallingly. We don't look at seasonal food any longer. We want everything flown in all the time. We don't look at the origins of it. We want it packaged and instant. And the revelation has been nonnas in Italy, showing us how to cook. And the very small food stand. And America, the country that should look at their waste of food, which is so terrifying that the figures barely register when you look at them. So, think about home cooking, think about wasted food, and think about local food. Right, anti-tourism, hospitality. There's only one answer to it: smaller. The smaller the bar, the smaller the restaurant, the smaller the hotel, the more you get for your money and the more attention you get and the better service you get. Sorry, that's the one thing none of us want. Ethical, sustainable. Put very simply, it's from the people who pick the cotton through to the people who sell the garment. It isn't any one stage. Think about the journey a garment makes. It's every moment of it. And crops, how they're grown, who picks them, what happens. And this is very, very important. Lots of designers are using things in new and sustainable ways. Uema Nakazato took landfill from Kenya and had it turned into fabrics for his couture collection. It costs a lot of money, but if we keep doing it, eventually the cost will come down. Elise, Sofia Crociani, all this velvet was from old costumes at the Paris Opera Ballet that were being binned because they were beyond restoration, and she turned it into couture evening wear. And this is Ronald van der Kemp, who's Dutch and uses anything he can find, including he bought some material used for lampshades. They washed it, got rid of all the dressing, had it pleated and made blouses with it. And this, from the closing of the Olympics by Kevin Germanier, this is all the insides of old cassette tapes turned into fringe, but the cassette tapes were all of classical music only. Lots of people doing stuff, follow them, look at them. Does the fast fashion customer care? Remember that too. Who are we? Who am I? How did I get here? Locus versus global. Where do we belong? Every culture, every country has its own style tribes. So they're all very happy together because they all mix and they match. But they're all very happy together. And they're all very happy together. And so are they. And tragically, of course, they're all very happy together on Love Island. Culture and ethnicity, local versus global, yet again. India, the Cameroons, Zanzibar, Rabat, and obviously Spain. Designers all over the world recognizing their own climate, their own customer, their own culture, their own history. All about international. So these designers come from everywhere in the world. They might be Irish, Swedish, or Dutch. So when you look at them, these people understand fashion. So the fashion jury chose 10 designers at this final thing. And it's just interesting that we used to kind of go, France, Italy, Spain, France, Italy, New York. It's not anymore. So don't look at that in that way, about shipping, about vast quantities, about sending everything around the world. So this was just a list of every people, young designers, where they come from. And please don't talk about African fashion. Africa is 55 countries, and South Africa and Egypt are very different. Fashion people have a nasty tendency to go, it's African, and you kind of go, well, Ghanaian, Sudanese, or Moroccan, they're all in Africa. Always an interesting fact. The biggest fact that is hidden there is if you put Bengali and Hindi together, they come right up to the third most spoken language. Retail. If we make the effort to get out of home and not shop online, we want service. And training our shop staff to understand the product has become vitally important. Harrods in London are about to extend another whole floor for personal shopping. So Samaritain, Harrods, my local El Corte Inglés, Ralph Lauren, Zara. It's all about making it an experience, not just, oh, we're going shopping. It's got to be made worthwhile. And I have left her in there, the late, great Betty Halbrecht, who ran personal shopping at Bergdorf Goodman in New York for 47 years. And when she died earlier on this year as 96, she'd only not worked for 2 months. That was all the retirement she ever had. Things that go wrong and things that go wrong. And a lot of people who made a lot of money very fast, pre-Brexit and pre-COVID, have caught some very, very nasty colds. We're all different, but we've always been different. Size, sex, and age. Drag queen. Long before RuPaul, this drag queen had a theatre on Broadway named after him in the early 1900s. So 124 years ago, drag was big on Broadway. Sarah Bernhardt as a man, and a drag queen as Sarah Bernhardt playing a man. And Radcliffe Hall, who was a lesbian in England in the 1930s and taken to court. Marlena and Katharine Hepburn as men. And April Ashley, who in 1960 became a fashion model in the UK and was transgender. And in 1919, Barbette, who was actually an American guy, was a drag trapeze artist in Paris. And of course, 1975, Saint Laurent already blurred genders. And Danny LaRue, the drag queen, was on British primetime TV, 68. Right, Lil Nas, who is unboxable. There's always people who don't fit in a box. Small, medium, large, casting is important. So Beth Ditto, 14 years ago in Jean-Paul Gaultier, the amazing, wonderful Isolde at Cannes, and then closing the French Olympics, and Iris Apfel, who was the face of MAC lipstick at 100. And these two modeling in Paris. Right, investigation. Remember, not everything is on the internet. I sent copy to my sub-editor who said to me, I can't find your quote on the internet. I said, no, that's because it's in a book. So keep reading. Listen, connect. I've used this slide for 30 years. If we don't talk and meet people, and we don't exchange ideas, and we don't sit in a room and have discussion, fashion will never grow. It will never be worthwhile, and applies to so many things, but particularly for work, you have to talk to people. Fact check nowadays. There is an amazing university that actually has an entire fake news department now. It's so important. And finally, money. Never lose sight of the fact that the huge global brands are not run by the designers, they're run by the money men. Chanel, Dior, Givenchy, whoever, They're run by men in suits upstairs looking at the budgets. A friend of mine who works with visual merchandising overseas for some of those brands says that every time they send a plan in, it's what they take out that they were planning to do to make the budget work, not we love the ideas. So caring and obviously LVMH. Monsieur Arnaud, who is busy putting all his children into major roles so that when eventually the devil calls him, I doubt he's going to heaven, he will have all his family in jobs at LVMH, despite the fact that one of his boys manages to bankrupt every brand he's been put in so far, he will still have a job. The Chanel price increases, which make your eyes water. Chanel defies luxury, so, but, you know, if you look at what they're doing, prices went up 75% in 5 years on Chanel handbags. There are other big brands as well, Richemont, and so on. Matter not a jot to the people at the top. They are merely employees who produce collections. And the moment the sales figures waver, they're all out. And it doesn't matter how successful they were, they're never given a chance to have a dodgy season, they're never given a chance to get back on track. And the interesting thing is that all these three gentlemen have just got new jobs. They're all hovering around about 50. Experienced, knowing what they're doing, understanding their customer, knowing what to produce, how to balance a collection. They are not the whiz kids. Sarah Burton going to Givenchy. This list of brands from a few years ago, not one designer on that entire list is still at any of those brands because it's about money. So, why do they love having all the K-pop people at the shows? Money. You think 70-year-old men up the top are excited by K-pop stars? No. It's great news, it's great social media, and it makes them money. So, what do you finish with? I finished with one thing that always gives me heart recently, Taylor Swift. In spite of everything here on our phone, everyone wants to be in the space. They still want to see her live. And that's my sort of final serious comment. But I always have this, how do I finish? I finish this time for you with two pictures. One is Oberon from Lindsay Kemp's Midsummer Night's Dream. Lindsay Kemp was English, but Spain embraced him entirely out his career, even though his whole art was English-based. The Spanish gave him a home, and all his final film and all his final work was done here. He was one of my favorite performers in the entire world, and the very last time I saw him, I knew I wasn't going to see him again, and my friends had to carry me out, sobbing my heart out. And a final image, which is any man who can wear a tiara over a turban gets the thumbs up from me. That's how you wear diamonds. And do I have any advice? If you see one of these, always go and take the glass. It's well worthwhile. Thank you very much indeed. Was I on time? Thank you. Any questions? I'm around the rest of the day anyway. So, but I think we've got.
Tony, welcome to the festival. It's a big pleasure you are with us. Thank you very much for your interesting talk about the future of fashion, because it's clear the fashion is changing every day.
Yeah.
And it's not same that the devil of wear of Prada. it's very far from the situation of fashion now. Thank you very much. I invite everybody for making some question. Somebody have a question? Okay, but
I'm going to talk to you.
yes.
I'm going to say something which I think, because you're there, is so part of what I'm saying. It's about creative integrity, which you have. You have that creative integrity. People understand what you represent in the joyfulness of how you design and what you do. And that will survive trends. Orange is the big color, or you haven't got very wide trousers in, whatever. It's about being true and being a designer who has a vision and an understanding, but isn't static, because you move as well. So, to you.
Very beautiful moment.
Yeah.
It's very emotional and beautiful.
But also because that opportunity to have someone who represents why I was talking about Lasha and talking about Rihanna and Nina. A lot of people think that classic always has to be, well, this boring navy blazer I'm wearing. But it doesn't have to be, because if you buy stuff that then fits in with your camel coat and your navy trousers and your jeans and your white shirt, it's like putting spice in food. It's why I talk about food as well, because good fashion is like food. You put the ingredients together, and that's what some people can't do. They get all the wrong ingredients. There's a designer who I like very much, but his fabric choices are very cheap. And it spoils the aspiration for me of what he's doing. Is I want him to up his game with who he works with on fabric. I spoke to Stéphane Rolland. I've just done an interview with him, and he was talking about quality fabrics. And he said there are now only 10 factories for haute couture in the whole world that he can work with, because for quality, it's becoming harder and harder and harder. And I think that's a very interesting thing about how you see it. So with those special pieces, it's about when you buy something when you're away and you know you can only buy it where you are. And sometimes it's handmade, sometimes it's local, sometimes it's something just here, or it's, I was in a market not long ago in one of those markets that has lots of things from India, and I bought a bag, and it's kind of embroidered with tassels on it, and as soon as I used it the first time in London, everyone went, "Where?" And I was like, "Oh, a market." And they're like, "Damn," because it's something special and something fun. Enough. I've talked enough. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
We go to the